Welcome back to The Gassing Station, the podcast that heads into the PistonHeads forums like an elder fellow clutching a consumer magazine heads into a car dealership. I'm Cam Tate, and the mild chortling you hear in the background is Sam Sheehan. Sam, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm cold. I'm wearing my thermals because it's freezing outside.
It's freezing everywhere outside, except this room.
Yes,
which
it's
is
very hot in here.
Roasting.
But I've committed, and so have you.
Yeah, there's actually, for those who aren't watching on YouTube, I'm wearing a PistonHeads jumper, an old school PistonHeads jumper.
Yeah.
I don't think we sell this one anymore. But it shows you how resilient it is because I've worn this on a lot of shoots. And I'm wearing a wool jumper underneath that, so I am absolutely roasting. So we're actually recording this a couple of weeks in advance, and by the time this goes live, I will know the size of the bill that is coming my way because I'm sending the Fiesta off to get some work done.
Oh, wow. What work? Is this the full RS job?
I wish.
Wide arch, you know?
Well, what terrifies me is that I've had a quote for the work that needs doing on it, and it comes to nearly 4 figures, and that's really just to get it through an MOT.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think particularly over 25, a lot of my budget was very much aimed at getting this new car sorted, because anyone who listens to this podcast will know it's a new family car that we've got. It's a 435i Grand Coupe, and as it will be driven not by myself but also my wife, that was the thing that took priority. So it means that the Fiesta I've just basically scraped it through the year.
Yeah.
And literally the day after I bought the BMW, it started throwing up it was almost like, you know, when you've been at work for a long time and you then take a week off and you get sick immediately.
Yes.
It's like that. I've been parked up for 2 days, and it was like, I'm really not very well.
Yeah.
And you start it up, and I think the brake and clutch fluid needs doing. The right rear caliper, I think, is seizing. So that needs doing, which will come with new brake discs and pads.
Lovely.
And it's,
Wait, are we going uprated? Sorry, just to clarify. Are you just going bog standard, just go down to the local?
Well, the problem is that I'm still assessing what to do and when. And also, as I've just bought a car, and it's just been Christmas, I'm not exactly flush with cash.
Yeah.
So to then go, I'll go and spend $1,000 or $2,000 on brakes, probably not really high on the priority list. So the plan was to whack Mark 1 Focus RS brakes on it.
Right, okay, nice.
Brembos. Yeah. Because that's what was on the RS concept. And I was like, I want it to be like for like.
You need to start moving in that direction for RSing.
But there's not a whole lot of information out there on the adapters for it. And it's basically, the MOT is due in a week's time while I'm actually away on holiday. So it's going to somewhere to get fixed. And then they're going to put it through the MOT while I'm away. So I really need the brakes done kind of ASAP, really, before I can really think about it. Because it's do I put those Mark 1 RS brakes on it, or do I get the latest and greatest brakes? Because it's a performance, it's a safety and performance thing at the end of the day, and it's like better brakes. Just because the concept from 21 years ago had the RS brakes on it doesn't mean that that's probably the right thing that you should do now.
Although I would say on a car, because I'm basing this on my Clio, I don't actually think you need to upgrade unless you're going with significantly more power. The pad, just changing pad will probably be all you need to do. Because I did that on my Clio, changed to a track day pad, and that, in my opinion, has made the brakes exceptional and the calipers standard. It's
mostly because I'm going after that full RS concept look. That the car does, the brakes on the standard ST 150 from 2005 they are so good that anything more will significantly overbrake it. Yeah. Because it's only got 150 horsepower, so it's already underpowered for the brakes it has. Oh, absolutely not. Yeah. No. But it's more this is a project I have and will be building up over years. So it's I don't know. So that's a very long way of saying it's just getting a standard caliper to start off with. Yeah. We're also having some discussions about what we do suspension wise with it. But getting it through the MOT is the most important thing at the moment, so I can still use it. Because if it gets parked up, that, bless it will die. Yeah. That will hopefully be a pleasant surprise when I land, and not one that brings tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
Sam, how's your fleet getting on at the moment? Has it survived the winter? Surviving the winter?
Yeah, I think I've mentioned on earlier episodes that I'm driving my MX-5 NC in the winter, which would seem like the weird choice given they tend to rot.
Famously great winter cars.
Yeah, and it's still on the semi-slicks, although that will be changed very soon. But yeah, my Clio is the MX-5 is my faithful, touchwood, daily runabout, as well as my track day toy for when the summer returns. That's been perfectly fine. Needed a new battery over the winter, but that's fine. The battery was knackered anyway.
Oh yeah,
that's all just normal stuff. When I've got my new tires on it, it's going to ride better and everything like that. So I'm excited for that. The Clio remains garaged up in the garage I rent down the road from my flat, and has been off since late November. I did turn a page in I've got a little folder with all my paperwork for the Clio, and the MX-5's got a little page on the back now, but the Clio paperwork is dense, is thick, and it was a reminder, and this brought a tear to my eye. You've got tears to come. Mine have happened, and probably will continue to happen until the job is done. This is the year 2026 when my 182 requires both the auxiliary and the cam belt change. That the F4R engine in the Clio, famously tiny car, not tiny and not big engine, but 2 litre in a car that big, is a squeeze.
There's
so it's
not
a
a
big
lot of
job.
space in that engine bay, is there?
It's a big job. And whereas your car's got a chain, hasn't it, for the so you haven't got cam belts, so that's lovely. Engine. Same as my MX-5. Same engine you've highlighted, which I forgot.
Duratec,
which I forgot. But means minimal servicing in terms of, belt. There is no cam belt change. It's just auxiliary stuff, I presume. But the Clio, every 6 years, I think it is. Don't quote me on that. If you've got a 182, double check it. It might be 5. I forget. It's definitely not a lot of years. I think it's 5, actually. You've got to get your cam belt changed. And that can be, the last time I checked, which was 3 years ago when I had the auxiliary done, I think it was 650 quid from a specialist. It's not going to have got any cheaper. So I'm going to be nudging your bill for just a service, just a routine. Oh
yeah, because mine's going to be brake caliper, fluid, service, MOT.
Yeah.
Plus, I think there's some other bits on it as well. So it's going to be, I'm guessing a considerable amount in return for touching 4 figures, whereas just cam belt. Thank God for the chain drive on the ST. But that's one of the reasons I went for it, is because it's designed for idiots like me.
Well, yeah. I mean, I signed up to it. I knew what I was buying into when I bought it all those years ago, and I will continue to run the 182, even if it bankrupts me. But it's not a nice feeling when I turn the page and I was like, oh, this year I might go on a big holiday and do this, this, and this. And I go, oh, there's 700-ish quid just gone.
That's the thing about owning a car that's 20 years old, is you go like, maybe this is the year where I go and treat it, I go and then you go, oh God, so much of it's falling apart. The budget I had for upgrades is all going to just keeping it alive. Well, from old cars to new cars, if you haven't noticed already, it's 2026, which means that there's a heck of a lot of new cars that are coming out. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a PistonHeads run through of all the important cars that we're expecting to come out in 2026. Now, I'm going to prefix this by saying that having a look around and doing quite a lot of research into this, 99.999% of cars that are coming out in 2026 are EVs. And ones that are not really going to move the needle all that much. Audi's releasing quite a few new regular cars. I think there's some EVs in there too. BMW, we're expecting the i3 Neue Klasse to come out. That's going to be quite a big thing.
That will be, actually, yeah.
But the majority of cars coming out are going to be sort of stuff that you don't really care about. However, the cars that we're going to talk about, there are some EVs thrown in, but it's all stuff that's hopefully going to get you a little bit excited for what's to come. And the first thing I'm going to point out, actually, is the obvious one. And this is really annoying, because anytime you try and look up a car maker's plans for 2026, all you get is Formula One.
Yeah.
Because it's a big rule change this year.
Yeah.
So we won't dwell too much on it, but basically last year, for the last 11 years now, the cars have been V6 turbo hybrids. Yeah, with
complicated hybrid. Yeah,
flipping complicated. Yeah. Especially with, they had an MGU-H, a motor generator unit heat, as part of the exhaust system that recuperated energy from the exhaust gases and put it back into the battery, along with energy from the brakes, I believe. Was it the flywheel? I don't know. So basically, it was recuperating a lot of energy and putting it into a battery. That little motor generator heat from the exhaust is going for this year, but the power unit has to now be as close as 50-50 as you can get between ICE power and electric power. There's active wings. Audi's coming into Formula One. Cadillac as well. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in the F1 world. The annoying thing is, though, is that if you type a car manufacturer's name and 2026 cars into any search engine, it then goes, well, MG doesn't look like it's coming to Formula One this year, but it might be if it does blah, 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 blah. So, if you're interested in motorsport, that's the big thing that's happening this year. But in the world where human beings can actually drive cars, we have quite a lot to look forward to. Sam, what's the first on your list?
Well, you did mention that there were some EVs in the mix, and I love petrol cars the most, but there are some really good EVs, and one that has been around. I think it got revealed a couple of years ago. I went to the walk around in a studio, and it's finally on. I think it's due next. I was going to say next year. It's due this year. And I'm pretty sure everything's looking positive in terms of the factory. This is Caterham, new factory, or certainly very much revamped, and obviously the Project V sports car. I think was it 2 years ago that it was revealed?
I saw it.
I think it was 2 years ago.
At Tal Design in Italy in 2023.
Oh, blimey! So 3 years ago now. Yeah. I saw it late then because I'm pretty sure I saw it in 24. And it was really cool, really pretty. The thing I loved about it was that the battery, what they're really trying to do is to give it the feeling. I know this is something other brands have done, Lotus included, trying to give an EV the feeling of a mid-engine sports car. But they've really gone to town in pretty efficient ways in doing that. And the main obvious way is that they've kept the center of gravity really low with the battery obviously in the floor, but they've cut out areas in the battery layout so that your bums, basically, your passenger and your driver, the three passengers, if I remember correctly.
Yes, there's two up front and a single in the rear between the wheels.
Can sit low. So that's good for obviously your position in the car, but it also means center of gravity is really low as well. So I'm really excited about that one.
I think the batteries are packaged in a really clever way too, isn't it? So that the weight is essentially in the center of the car. Exactly. It's very much in the line of the A1 of what we're expecting to be the A110 electric, and another car that's on this list that I'll get to in any second.
Yeah. The next one, actually, another electric one, is the Hyundai Ioniq 6N. Now, that has been driven internationally as of 2025, late 25. I've not driven it yet, so I'm really excited to sample it in the UK. I love the 5N. I've banged on about it enough, probably, for people to, if anyone who's listened and watched this before. And this apparently is even better.
This one actually intrigues me a little more than the Ioniq 5N.
Yeah.
Because the Ioniq 5N is... well, I don't know if you've realised this, but it's a ginormous car.
Yeah.
It is absolutely... It looks like a hatchback from a distance, and then the closer you get, you go, oh, that's the size of a double-decker bus.
Big hatchback.
Good Lord. Yeah. And so there's a lot of heft to it.
Yeah.
Whereas the 6, my goodness, it's a bit of a... people are split on the look of the 6. I think it looks really cool because it's got that kind of streamliner design to it. And the N version... looks absolutely rad. Whether, yes, it's an EV, I know, but the Ioniq 5N is the most exciting EV there has ever been. Yeah, probably. It's more interesting than the hyper powerful ones that are out there because they actually tried to make it engaging, which is something that a lot of EV makers seem to overlook. So, I'm all over the 6N. I'm looking forward to that.
And also, by the way, I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. I jumped to 5N at Millbrook. Look for it on Instagram because my video it got a few 100,000 views, so hopefully it will still be searchable. Yeah, and so these cars, even though they're big and heavy, like you said, when I say I jumped it, I think I was about a foot off the ground. But at that mountain course, whatever it's called, section of Millbrook, which is like simulating a B road. Took off a bit. It landed beautifully, but I've heard the 6N rise even better, and the damping is a big improvement. So I'm like, the 5N landed beautifully, and that was 2.2 tons. This 6N is going to be spectacular if it's a step forward.
It wasn't like that Autocar Cayenne shoot. Do you know the one where it was like flying, and there's a considerable amount of air between it and the ground, and then when it landed, it was not in good shape?
No, this one was fine. I mean, obviously in the middle of the air. The thing that's great about the video, if you do find it on Instagram, I put it on TikTok as well. This is going back year and a bit now, is you hear the simulated engine sound hit a simulated rev limiter. So I take off and it goes, and I'm like, this is really cool. I had 0.5 seconds of thinking, this is cool. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm going to brake the car. It landed. It was fine. All good.
At least you didn't get a blue screen of death like you would get on an old Windows computer.
Yes.
And the warning bump
sound.
sound.
Thank God, no. Everything was good. Obviously, I need to switch back to petrol cars now because otherwise it'd be weird to have 3 EVs. The car I'm excited about with petrol power is one I did not expect to come. I really didn't see this one coming, but obviously the Formentor, the Cupra Formentor has now got the 5-pot.
Yes, it does.
Which is famous for Audi RS models, not Cupras. Also now going into the Golf R.
That is genuinely exciting.
Yeah.
That is something I would really love to see because the R has never had more than 4 cylinders. If you want to get really, because it was the R32 that had the VR6. Yeah, I was just pushing my glasses in, so 5 cylinders. For, who would have thought in 2026 we'd be getting a petrol car with more cylinders than
exactly. This is what I'm saying. It bucks all the trends, doesn't it? Yeah. And I'm just waiting for Litchfield to come along, or someone like other brands are available to come along and say, "Oh, filters in WLTP stuff. Get rid of that." Right? Here's a louder.
I've not driven the Mark 8.5 or the Club Sport, but I'd done the Golf or the previous Mark 8 Golf R. And I did the Mark 8 Golf R and the Mark 8 GTI, and I thought the R drove significantly better than the GTI.
Yeah.
And so that car with a 5-pot, without, I know they still have the nasty sliders, but if it did without the sliders, and that 5-pot engine, that's going to be really cool. It's going to be blooming expensive, but it's going to be really cool.
It will. Well, the Golf 8.5, just to shout in, the slidey heater controls are a little bit better. Still rubbish. And I drove a GTI Club Sport recently, which has the Golf R 4-cylinder, 300-ish horsepower, in a front-wheel drive setup, and that was so good. So this Golf is getting better and better and better.
Absolutely.
Slidey heater controls aside.
Speaking of power, my first car on my list it's an EV. I've got 2 EVs, but they're very, very, very important EVs. It's the Jaguar Type 00.
Of course.
We are expecting it in some form, or we are hoping to see it in some form in 2026. You never know with car makers if they say it's going to come out here, but it might be pushed back. I don't think we've got an official, yes, 2026 you'll see it, but we are expecting, we're hoping that it will come along. This is one of the most controversial cars I've ever seen. Really,
in a marketing sense,
in a marketing sense, but just in general, really as well. Of let's say they had done that branding for and whatever would follow an F type, a G type, I don't know, but you would go, the marketing's a bit, divisive. I'm saying divisive because some people genuinely like it. That's what divisive means.
Yeah,
but. You'll go to the car and go, oh yeah, but at least it's what Jaguar's been doing before. Here we've got a controversial marketing campaign and an all-electric luxury saloon Jaguar that looks very different, has got different badges on it. I am genuinely really excited for it because I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know how it's going to go down. It could be the car that revives Jaguar and makes it a world beater again, or who knows? It's very exciting, but it's, our editor, Nick Cackett, has been out for a passenger ride in it.
Yeah.
So they've done that in the prototypes, 1,000 horsepower. As default, it sends 70% of that to the rear wheels. But the interesting thing is that they, from what I've heard, they've not gone about it and said, we've got to make this the most sporty, best handling thing ever, which is sort of what Jaguar was doing for the last 10 years or so. They've actually gone through all of Jaguar's history and gone, what is the absolute epitome of Jaguar? What defines Jaguar the best? And they've taken all of that and put it into this new car. And it sounds like they've ended up something that is far more cruisery, much more GT.
Okay, nice.
That's going to feel luxurious and is first and foremost a good production car. It's not designed to be out and out sporty. And I'm really looking forward to it. The other one that is a very important electric car is the new Porsche Boxster and Cayman EV. This is something we've been expecting for a long time.
Yes.
This is a car that was spy-shotted 2-3 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe even more. They've been developing it for a heck of a long time. It's exciting because we know how good a Porsche Boxster and Cayman can be, especially with 6 cylinders.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this is that for the longest time that we've known about it, it has been purely EV. This is, if you want a Boxster, that's all you're getting. You're getting the electric version. But it seems like the tide is changing.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that perhaps some form of combustion engine version of it will also be offered.
Probably 6 cylinders though, right? The flat 6.
I think so. There's nothing set in stone.
Yeah.
But it could be it might be the case of like you had with the 718.
Yeah.
Where the bread and butter was a 4-pot, or on this new one, electric, and then it's the GTS and the GT4 or whatever that gets the 6-cylinder.
Flat 6, yeah.
Which is fine because that's great, really. And if you want a lower Porsche Cayman or Boxster with a flat 6, get a 986 or a 987 or something like that, because they're really good.
Yeah.
And they're really affordable.
Matt Bird knows about lowish cost Porsche experiences.
He does.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Lowish cost. I don't know how much he spent on.
It's it was barely anything, was it? No, I think it was quite a lot.
Some money.
So looking forward to seeing how that goes. But the one that's a big question mark is something that's going to be revealed potentially by the time this podcast comes out. Shows how much I've been thinking about this. It's so Red Bull will be announcing their Formula One car this month.
Oh yes.
They'll be taking the covers off it. And for those of you who don't follow Formula One, this is the first year where they'll be powered by, in air quotes, Ford powertrains.
Yes.
I don't know how involved Ford is with developing the engine, but they basically, for the first time ever, they are now developing their own Formula One power unit, and Ford is involved in some way that means that they can call it a Ford Performance powertrain or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Ford's obviously very chummy with this. They have decided during this reveal to announce a new supercar of some variety. What's exciting about this is it could really go in multiple different directions. First of all, next year in 2027, Ford will return to Le Mans with a top-tier prototype akin to what they had with the Ford GT40. So the only thing is that when they were last at Le Mans in 2016 to 19, I think, when they ran the Ford GT, that car was a GTE car and therefore had to be based on a road-going model. Yeah. That's the category that has Porsche 911s, Ferrari at the time 488s, and Corvettes.
Yeah. Aston Vantage and
Exactly. It's the GT class at Le Mans. You've got the prototypes and you've got the GTs. This time, however, it's going into the prototype category, so it doesn't need to build a road-going version of that car. Whether, however, it then decides to do a road car inspired by its Le Mans car and call it a GT or whatever, we don't know. That'd be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. the
only thing I will say on it, though, is that Jim Farley, Ford legend, and a chap who genuinely seems like a really cool guy, I think he let slip in an interview that he said, no one's ever made like a Baja style supercar before.
Oh.
So maybe that's potentially what they're going to do as well. Who knows? But Ford has something interesting up its sleeve.
That would be cool. Yeah,
it would actually be really cool, wouldn't it?
I'm trying to think. Didn't Glickenhaus have a crack at something like that?
They did.
Am I dreaming that? Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Very, very strangely, they were like, right, here's our supercars. One's built as a Nürburgring racer. One's built as a Le Mans car. Oh, and now we've built a Baja car.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. Cool. Do that. I love it. So those are 3 really big cars, at least from my side, 3 really big cars that you're expecting. A couple I wanted to touch on is the Porsche 911 GT2 RS. If you go searching around websites at the moment about what the big cars are that are coming out in 2026, as I've been doing to inform this podcast, I'm surprised how few mention the GT2 RS.
Yeah.
Because this is a car that has been spy-shotted, again, for a long time. It's not electric, but, they usually are rear-wheel drive, stripped-out versions of the turbos, right?
Yeah.
And the new 911 Turbo has just been released with a all-new flat 6 with a hybrid element to it, but it's hybrid hybrid power from that helps the turbos essentially. So it keeps the turbo spun up.
Yeah.
Rather than a battery powered thing. So what it does, how it uses that engine, or if it uses something else, we don't know. But it will be the most extreme 992.2 there is.
Yeah. And the wings, if I'm not mistaken, on some of the spy pictures I've seen, look pretty substantial. Did I see an active wing on one?
It's an active wing on the GT3.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Of course it is.
So it's enough to do some serious damage to your retinas.
Yes.
If you get into direct contact with it.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Other ones, maybe we'll hear about Toyota GR Corolla in the UK this year because they're moving production to the UK.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd really love that Toyota. Really love it if you give us a GR Corolla because the GR Yaris is amazing. AC Cars is releasing the Cobra GT, which is their kind of modern interpretation of the Cobra, obviously, with up to 660 horsepower from a supercharged V8.
Yeah.
Yes, please. But the one I would really love to see is the Boreham RS200.
Oh, yes. Yes. That looks... I've not seen it properly.
I think there was potential for it to either be coming out, kind of announced in 25 or 26. We obviously didn't hear about it in 25. I'm really hoping we see it in 26 because it is essentially, like you've seen with the RS2000 that they've done, it is it's allowed to have 4 badges on it. It is essentially a modern interpretation of the RS200, which is such a cool idea. I've loved what they've done with the RS2000. I think that they've kind of created this new engine that screams is unbelievable. Would love to see that be put into this RS200. So yeah, lots to look forward to there. Yeah. Oh, and last one, maybe we might see a V8 CLE, Mercedes-AMG.
Yes, this is all coming. All of this stuff.
We've got loads of cool stuff.
A handful of years ago, we would have thought, no, all that stuff in the bin forever, and then suddenly it's all coming back.
So the headline stuff, yes, it's EV related, but it doesn't mean that we're not getting any petrol cars. There is a lot of cool car stuff still coming out. And
with the F1 sustainable fuel stuff as well, fingers crossed that, we can start to see some more development.
Yes, please.
I'm still working on a conversation with Sustain because I'd love to bring some more detailed information on that. Who they produce sustainable fuel, e-fuel.
I'm all in on this.
And I think, we could be this year with Formula One and the return of all these petrol related models, I think we could really be at a point where a longer term future is established and then suddenly it's all hot hatches and V8s.
Just funny how, not to get political on this, but when you have legislation that says you will have to go electric, car makers are able to go, no, this ain't going to work. We're going to have to do something about this. And they go, okay. Let's wind this back. Instead of 100%, fully emission free, you have to be 90%. But then Formula One comes along and it's like, if you want to be competitive, you've got to do this. And so, obviously sustainable fuel is still a relatively new thing. It's a relatively expensive thing.
Yes, it is.
You can bet that with Formula One getting hold of it, that technology is going to absolutely ramp up so quickly. Nothing accelerates technology quite like Formula One.
100%. Yeah, it's like the space race and Formula One drive technology faster than anything else.
There you go, legislators. If you want to get something done, just take a leaf out of Formula One's book. Make everyone race stuff. It's still winter. And if you're Sam Sheehan, you've decided to go and get a car that's very prone to rust and drive around on salty roads. However, this week's car buying challenge comes from somebody who's looking for a car just to, as a winter hack, let's say, something that's super cheap, that if it gets rusty, they don't really care about it, like Sam Sheehan. It comes from Cheshired J7, and they say, just had the front of my Audi TTS resprayed, £900 exclamation mark, and I really don't want to run my F-Type R through winter. I'm up in Yorkshire moors, so get loads of snow, ice, and most importantly, gritters.
Very specifically a UK problem, that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, horrible. Looking for something around £1,500 max to run till the spring and sell on. Cheap to tax, insure, easy to move. Missed out on a nice Mazda 2 1.3, seeing lots of Peugeots and Minis, but not really sure about reliability of the 1.6 petrol unit. Thanks. Now, this so far, apart from a slight tongue-in-cheek challenge that I did when we did that Aston Martin for £900. This is our cheapest challenge so far. And so far, Cheshire's J7, your shortlist is far too boring. So we have decided to come up with something a little bit more interesting, because just because you need something to run around in doesn't mean you can't have fun.
Yeah.
So, Sam Sheehan, first of all, how easy was it finding a car for £1,500?
There are actually loads. It's actually, there are plenty of cheap, because the reality is, and we all say it, don't we, as cars can feel quite expensive, new cars. Even inflation is certainly part of the reason that's the case, but definitely cars feel expensive. But there are still loads of really cheap cars out there. And I see in particular on the comments on YouTube videos and also in the PH forums for readers and viewers who are from abroad, I think they're astounded at how low cost some cars are. And so this was a perfect example of that, because we weren't just looking at complete rust buckets. There are some genuinely good cars out there.
There are cars I came across where I'm like, I really want that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are actually, we were actually fortunate to be in a country where we can just, rustle up £1,500 and buy something that is MOT'd and will get you from A to B, or at least survive a winter. So with that in mind, what you found?
Well, I've gone for a car that doesn't have the best rep, but when you take into account how much it's worth, and also looking into this particular car's history, which I think is pretty good, I've gone for an X-Type, but it is an estate, and it's the V6. It's the little
V6.
It's a little 2.5 V6, which I don't know. I don't know tons about that engine, but I think they're all right. And it's an all-wheel drive, by the way, which means it's the winterproof version, I would argue. Little V6, 2.5, all right, 200-ish horsepower, just under it, but it's an auto. And this particular car has done 106,000 miles. But if you look at the year, it's an 08. That's not too bad. It's pretty low mileage. And it's in a lovely shade of green. What colour's the interior, actually? I've forgotten already. Beige. There you go. Green on beige. Beautiful British spec. Yes, it has a lot of shared componentry underneath of the Ford Mondeo of that era.
But Sam Sheehan,
V6.
It was the car of choice for the late Her Majesty the Queen, Elizabeth II.
Well, there we go.
Had a Jaguar X-Type that she just pootled around the grounds of her many castles and palaces all over the UK in a very similar spec. So the one that you found is in a dark green. It is Queen spec, dark green with a cream interior. In fact, it's an identical.
Is it the
inside? Car? It's not far off. It doesn't have the facelift grille.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't have the facelift grille, which
makes a big difference, actually.
It does look a little more regal. But then again, I don't think it looks... I think they did their best.
Yeah.
I think they did their
best
with
what they had. Yeah.
But you found a V6 X-Type estate
all-wheel
with
drive.
200 horsepower, all-wheel drive for £995.
There we go. I mean, it's that is there's a lot of car for the money, and all things suggest this one is in very good condition.
This is what I love about these challenges, is that the X-Type has never been a winner in its entire life, but this might be the chance where it can actually...
Yeah,
it can
knock off 99% of its original value, and it feels right.
And then it wins. Very nice.
Even the rear seats. So I'm just looking through the cushions in the rear seats. Has anyone sat in that? That looks brand new in the back.
It's got 106,000 miles.
But look at that very primitive infotainment. But look, heated seats. There we go.
I'm getting dangerously close to liking an X-Type here. Yeah. Have you got anything else, or is this because that's got a lot going for it?
I have a car that feels a lot less. So if you think about winterproofing, or a car that's appropriate for the winter, a short wheelbase rear-wheel drive BMW probably doesn't spring to mind immediately. I've gone for a 2002 3 Series compact, but it's the 318 Ti. This SE as well. So
the only thing I'll say about this is that it's the more fun option.
Yeah, and 61,000 miles for an O2 car, so it's low mileage. It is an auto, but the reason I've gone for this car is because I think it was... I don't actually remember the tyre launch, but it feels like it must have been one of the winter tyres. It could have been a Michelin Cross Climate or something launch I did a decade or so ago. Yeah. And it was on the frozen lakes of Sweden. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Sorry, any Swedish listeners of yours. Arjeplog? Is that how you say it?
I have zero
I'm saying it how it's spelled. It's spelled like Arjeplog. Anyway, it's a place in Sweden where, all manufacturers go to test their cars during the winter months because it's the most extreme cold. I think it's in the Arctic Circle and it's in Europe. Anyway, the frozen lakes they drive on, they had an old 318. It wasn't an E46. It would have been an E36, I think, actually. But anyway, it was still a compact. And they had that on winter tyres. And I got to drive around a frozen lake course.
Yeah.
And it was some of the most fun I've ever had in a car. It was so predictable. It was slow enough that it wasn't difficult to drive, but the balance was fab. And so I thought, this, you said we need to inject more fun into that list. And it's a small car, so it doesn't take up any more room, I think, than the other options that were suggested. But stick a set of winters on this, and it's going to be so much going through. It's in Yorkshire, right? Whizzing through the Yorkshire lanes with a bit of snow and ice in this would be so fun.
I mean, you've got great roads around you. Why on earth would you be wanting to roll around in a Mazda 2?
Yeah,
when you could be in a slightly what would you call that? Champagne.
I was just about to say, I'm not sure on the colour. Champagne, it's
a slightly dehydrated champagne.
Yeah,
It's with a cream interior
and a bit of wood veneer.
Wood veneer. It's an automatic.
Yes, that is a bit of a negative.
I mean, come on, that's 1,200. Wait, how much was it? Sorry, 1,200.
1,275.
So not far off 1,300 quid.
Yeah.
For 61,000 miles as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's low mileage for the age.
Bloomin' love finding little bargains.
Yeah,
like this.
I'm tempted myself. And Matt Bird has his little compact, doesn't he?
He's got a 325. Yeah,
325.
I'm pretty sure.
Proper engine in that. Yeah,
very, very lovely. Right, I also had some fun. Cheshire J7 already has a TTS.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, if they like an Audi TT, why not get a cheapy TT?
Yes.
To drive around in. So I have found a 2006, so quite late in the original. So it's a Mark 1 TT, 2006. It's a 1.8, so yes, it's not the punchier one, but I've heard very good things about the 1.8s.
Yeah.
They're meant to be very, very good cars because they were lighter and far less nose heavy than the VR6s, obviously.
Yeah.
It's 190 horsepower, front wheel drive. It is auto, but I mean, the manuals do tend to be more desirable and therefore cost more. So if you want to get in something, you have to overlook some things. It's dark grey, black leather interior. It's a lovely, lovely thing. £13.90.
I mean, they've aged so well. I remember when we were younger, we used to look at them going, "Oh, hairdressers' cars," and now I'm looking at it like, "God, that looks great." Doesn't it look good?
The Quattro Sport that had the
the red one,
pole positions in it. Yeah,
that was really firm, wasn't it? But it looked awesome.
I've not driven one. PHers Ben Loudon, head of marketing, had one, and if you go on to the PistonHeads YouTube channel and search for TT Quattro Sport, we did one with all three generations of TT, and I think it's his Quattro Sport that's in it. I think they were kind of a little bit of style over substance.
Yeah.
But if you get into a car with netting in the back, no rear seats, and Recaro pole positions, you're just going to feel like you've made it.
And also,
that is cool.
I remember because I had it was back when I was at PH last time round, and it was on the Heritage fleet for Audi.
Oh yeah.
I think we did a used buying guide on it or something like that. We did something that required me to drive this car. And I honestly, this side of like 100 grand supercars, at that time at least, I hadn't driven a car that had turned so many heads. Because it was in red and it looked great. Yeah. And people were like, "Oh, mate, look at that." People were like giving me the thumbs up and everything.
And if you did get the pole positions, they matched the body colour like you would get on a 993 RS Club Sport.
Yeah.
So that's the only connection you'll find between those two cars. But yeah, so I thought that was really cool. The next one is a little bit, isn't quite as exciting. It's actually one of the more expensive ones that I found. It is a Fiat Panda.
Yes.
Which
not 100 horsepower though, for the listeners who are going, "Oh, 100 horsepower."
Not 100 horsepower. It's actually a 1.2 diesel, but at least you get a manual with this. The only thing is that these cars tend to be in absolutely horrific condition. But this one, with 96,000 miles, looks absolutely box fresh, and it's in that slightly paley, pastely yellow.
It really feels like it needs a powered by fairy dust sticker on the back, though. And those flowers on the rear windows that people put.
Potentially so. I think Sam's really putting off Cheshire J7.
I love a Panda,
but I've always liked this idea of I've got a 3-car garage. One of them is a sports car or whatever that I use on the weekend. I have a family car that's semi-interesting. And then I have, let's say I had dogs. I've got a car that I can just do whatever in, and I'm not precious about it, and I don't care. And I feel like that is the definition of a panda.
Yeah.
And it will keep on chugging away, trying really hard. And when it does inevitably break, it won't be £1 million to repair.
No.
Unlike a Panda 100 horsepower, which sounds like it could get quite expensive.
I guess the parts are slightly different than that. But I do know from having rented plenty of Pandas, old ones, when I've gone on little holidays and stuff in Italy, that they do deal with bad potholed roads quite well. They just sort of bumble over them. So if you've got a very winter-beaten Yorkshire B road that's, dropped to -10 occasionally on some nights, these things just bumble over them because they're used to the bad Italian roads.
Have you ever had an inexplicable attachment to a car before? You can't really explain why, because that's what I've had with a Panda.
There's a vibe, isn't it? And you kind of just gel with the vibe. Pandas are just lovable. I think it's partly the face, because they're always so optimistic. They will always have that little cutesy, like, come on.
It's always like, I'm up for anything.
Yeah.
It's like, don't test me, but I'm up for anything.
Yeah.
I had one when I was in Sicily. I'd rented one in Sicily several years ago, and it was a pretty gutless, I can't remember what it was. I don't think it was the hybrid, but it didn't have much go at all. But over that week, it was just my trusty companion. It was so good, and it just felt like it was up for anything. And I felt like when I was always ready to go on an adventure with it in the morning.
They just have that bumbly. It's the way they go over bumps. They just sort of they don't glide over them. They don't completely smother them and make them disappear. There are bumps underneath you.
Yeah.
But there's just a kind of a squishiness to the whole thing, and it's really it's quite a. Yeah. It makes it feel solid, even though they're not made super solidly.
This one's a little...
They survive.
This one's a little flower power, admittedly, but the day you had to say goodbye to it would be like the day you had to say goodbye to your old dog.
Ah,
real sad. So go and buy it. If you're not into that though, get this, because this is I think my closest challenger to your X-Type.
Yeah. Oh,
it's a Hyundai Coupe.
Yes.
Hyundai Coupe, sorry. 2.7 litre V6. I can also get a V6, and I've got 0.2 litres more than you.
Oh.
And 165 brake horsepower. So I've got more engine but less power.
Yeah.
And it is an automatic.
But it looks great. I mean, I always thought these looked good, even when they were new.
What do they call them? They called them the
Tuscany.
The Tuscany.
Yeah.
I thought that was what they called them. They had like a special, it was like a special sub-brand for them, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And in some markets, I think they had different badges. It's not from Hyundai's finest
look at that auto
era.
Gate as well.
Yeah, it's not a Cobra head, but it's a little Fisher Price.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it'll be reliable though. They were made solidly then, weren't they?
They were made solidly. I think these look spectacular. I thought they looked fantastic back in when they were new. Yeah. And I think they look really, really good now. Is it going to be a modern classic? I'm not 100% sure. I think that depends. Well, I mean, Hyundai is such a massive company these days that maybe it will. Maybe it's like, in the same way that the Honda S600s are lusted after these days. Maybe in 20, 30 years' time, people would be like, I really want a Hyundai Coupe.
I don't see any of them around. I mean, these are ULEZ compliant cars. I don't see them around in London or the city. So, and I assume there are a few elsewhere, but I don't see many. And just that alone means, I guess, I have this theory that I think we see it with cars, is even if they're not particularly exceptional, if they become rare and they're relatively interesting, could you argue that this is a car that won't lose any value if it's looked after? I know it's a winter hack, so it's going to take a bit of abuse from the roads, but could you, in theory, run around with this for 2-3 years and sell it for the money you paid for it? Probably could.
Absolutely. I have just had a look at the MOT. The MOT was done quite recently, and it passed. But there is, if you do get it, there's some things you need to sort out. There's a few advisories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
It's been dragged across the finish line on its face. Yep.
14 advisories.
Oh, geez.
Which is a few. But I mean, for this winter, you'll get by just fine, I'd imagine.
Were they rust related, or was it more just?
I think it's general wear.
Okay, well that's all right.
A lot of it is general wear.
Oh,
Most
that's fine.
of it is going to be worth. I mean, yeah, it's like
I can see a bit like a tyre worn. That's fine. Just get a new tyre.
The word corrosion does appear once or twice, but that's fine. But I mean, even if it's not this exact one that you're after, can we just appreciate how cool the Hyundai Coupe is?
Yeah, and also for that money, like hopefully you might have a few quid in the pocket left over.
Yeah.
And you could make that one sweet as, and then it could be a profit car. I'm not suggesting you buy these cars to turn a profit on, but at this price bracket,
I think project cars more likely.
Yeah,
but yes. So that's my offer. I'm going to admit that this is the first time I will ever say this. I quite like Sam's X-Type because it's a great color combination.
Yeah, it's the queen.
It's all-wheel drive, and it does seem to tick a lot of boxes. And they have maybe the attitude towards them is a little strong, which has driven values down considerably, because that seems like a heck of a lot of car for $1,000. Like a heck of a lot of car. So what you can do is I'm going to put a story up on this on the PistonHeads homepage. You can go on there. You can say, Cam, what are you doing, mate? Or you can say, oh, you're really good cars. And you can do the same for Sam. Or what you can do is you can jump into the thread or the topic that's on there and submit your own and maybe suggest some cars that are actually helpful. Now, you can also, if you are buying a car on PistonHeads or selling, you can obviously go through PistonHeads auctions. We don't tend to sell cars for 1,500 quid. That's not really what we do on PistonHeads auctions. It's usually something more premium performance or collectible. So if you've got something that is more along those lines and you'd like to sell it, please get in touch with us at pistonheads.com/sell. So let's crack on with potentially the most nerdy subject I've picked up for our third topic ever. And it comes from Dodgy Geezer.
I love that name.
Great
Dodgy
name.
Geezer.
Dodgy
Wow.
Geezer. It's such a PHE.
I was about to say in the forums.
I absolutely love it.
Probably a great person. If you're down the pub and someone says, "Oh, that's the Dodgy Geezer," you think, right, I might change sides of the bar now. But
but on
the
PH,
forums,
that's exact. Yeah, it's almost like you see Dodgy Geezer and you're like, okay, that's fine. I'm with someone who's a proper PHer. And they say, over the last few years, I've noticed that whilst I can easily reverse into just about any space or next to a wall, ditch, immovable object, I find that, I know, right? Yeah, God, I can get it. You're good at parking. I find reversing out far less comfortable. Am I alone in this? Am I weird? At least as pertains to this issue. On other issues, I'll happily accept weirdness.
Reversing out, is that?
Yeah, so he's basically saying he's comfortable with, I'm assuming a he by calling himself a geezer. So he's saying he's comfortable reversing into a space, but reversing out of a space, he finds a bit strange.
Sorry. Let's read the thing.
We'll have it. See, so the community is surprisingly mixed results on this. Most people are happy with reversing into a space. So Strangely Brown, another great username, says, not weird, this is precisely why reversing in is preferred, as it is safer. Unless there is a specific necessity or reason for forward parking, nosy parker as it's known as, then I always take reverse parking. Riley Blue, however, says, if everyone reversed into supermarket spaces, wouldn't there be a far greater risk of cars being scraped by trolleys? And BCR5784, just rolls off the tongue, says, while there is no doubt that you can get into a tighter space and have more control going backwards, it's not always a good idea. If you have a low car like mine, unspecified, you have to come out of the space virtually blind since you can't see past the tanks. And that
tanks as in the big cars around him.
Yes,
I was thinking tanks like, where are we parking? Are we down RAF?
Yes, I was just like, I did pause at tanks because I was like, hey, yes, the tanks these parked next to you. So yes, SUVs and the likes of that.
Yeah.
Coming out backwards and you at least have the reversing camera to help you. And if you sit far nearer the rear of the car than the front, you will actually have some visibility early on. Sam, I thought this was going to be a slam dunk of where reversing in is just, that's how it's meant to be done.
Yeah.
And then I was reading this and I thought, that's some actually good points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The low car thing is true, especially if you don't have electric mirrors, because if you're sat low, because I find this sometimes when I jump into a press car and I'm like, oh don't get me started. I have avoided talking about bings and bongs for a few episodes now because I know I get annoyed with them. But electric mirror adjustments that are hidden in an infotainment menu, this problem here exacerbates that because you have to adjust the mirrors on the fly.
Yes.
quickly. And yes, sometimes you can save a setting where you put a car in reverse and it will automatically drop the mirrors, but it doesn't always, the curbs are often change and things like that. Settings change. You just want a little twiddly knob thing on the door, don't you? To just go, okay, down and left or whatever. This is where that becomes an issue.
The only...
Not having that.
Yeah. There's a couple of scenarios where I see this working, as in driving nose first into a parking space and reversing out. The first is, and I've noticed this recently, because I'm just about to turn 33 and it's almost embarrassing that I've just realized this, is that if you are in a supermarket and you reverse in and you then come with, you know, hands full of shopping, you have to awkwardly breathe in and just shuffle past the, you know, between the gap between you and the other car without touching it or bashing them. And then you've got to open the boot and try and shovel stuff in. Now, I don't have a family, so I don't have to have that massive trolley load yet. But, you know, if you're coming along and you've got a massive trolley full of stuff, you've then got it parked outside the front of the car and then you've got to walk all the way around to the back. I can see that being a bit of a hassle.
Yeah.
And as Riley Blue points out, there is a risk of trolley bashing.
Are these all related specifically? Because I was thinking parallel parking against the curb.
Yeah.
Reversing in is unquestionably the easiest option.
This I'm taking as a conventional parking space.
So like in a shopping
centre.
Yeah.
The way I'm envisioning this is a supermarket.
Yeah.
Which is where I think that the dilemma really presents itself.
Yeah.
Because yes, a parallel park, reverse obs.
100% easier. Unless it's a flat curb and you've got loads of space to just drive in and kind of drive over where the curb would be. But as soon as you put a proper curb in, you're going to have to go up the curb, and that's just obviously troublesome.
Precisely.
So, yes.
The other benefit I see to nosing into a space and reversing out is if you've got a really rubbish turning circle.
Yeah.
And then you're almost like a forklift truck of where your steering is at the rear. I believe, I might be imagining this, that reversing out and having the steering at essentially the rear would give you greater turning ability than steering from the front.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, because that's what you want. That's why you reverse into a parallel space, isn't it? Because you want the steering to be the direct at the point that you're entering with.
Precisely.
Or exiting with.
But my view has always been that driving headfirst into a parking space is, you know, it's almost like you're delaying the inevitable awkwardness.
Yeah, you have to correct it.
Yeah, precisely. You're getting a slightly easier... I actually find that nosing into spaces now is actually the hardest. Is actually tricky because I'm so used to reversing in.
Yeah.
That if you go nose first, you've kind of gone, oh, thank God, I finally parked my car. I'm so terrible at parking.
Yeah.
And then you get back and you go, oh, now I've got to reverse out and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, if you just took the time and reversed it in the first place, it would be so much easier just pulling out.
Just get a Mustang with a line lock thing and then you just floor the throttle and then use the rear wheels as they're spinning up to just make minor adjustments on the spot. There's a lot of smoke and you'll be leaving a lot of rubber on the ground, but you won't have to move. You just move around on the tail. That's the solution, surely. Line lock Mustang.
This is why we get Sam Sheehan on this podcast, is because he's so good at consumer advice.
Yes.
That is 10 out of 10 PH advice there. Line lock your Mustang. But have you ever been faced with parking dilemmas like this where you think...
I've been trapped in a space before. In fact, my sister was. Yeah, my sister and her partner at the time were sharing a company car. Was it a Hyundai Kona? Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, that's a shame.
I think it was. It was something of that sort. And they got boxed in by a Tesla, funnily enough. And we know, I ran a Tesla for a while. Like, they're covered in sensors. Someone managed to park within an inch of their door on one side. And I think the other side, they were against the walls. They just couldn't get in the car. So they were boxed in. And to drive out, I think because the car was at an angle, they would have had to have impacted his car. I've been boxed in that sense before as well and done like a 4,000 point turn. And the thing that breaks my heart is when and makes me feel like the mechanical sympathy in me I hate it, is turning a wheel, especially in a heavy car, when you're not moving. But you have to do it. This is why I hate when people park awkwardly, because it forces you to do things you don't like to do with your car. So if anyone's ever turned the wheel in their power assisted car, which is what everything almost is nowadays, and you do it while you're static, you can hear like creaking the mechanical strain on all these components.
Especially if it's an old car.
Yeah, and you just hear the noises.
Definitely creaks a bit. Yeah,
and that's why I hate having to drive out of these tiny spaces, because you're forced to do that. You can't even move forward an inch and start turning the wheel because then you run out of space. So Those are my nightmares, and that's why I often find myself inconveniencing myself and parking right at the other end of a supermarket car park.
I'm doing that more and more now. I'm just finding places that are more straightforward to park, less, not really to make my life easier, but it is just to protect myself from others. Because there is a bit of an epidemic at the moment of, and it is connected to this, people who nose park. Because what they do is I've seen, this isn't everybody, but I notice it where someone nose parks and they do it in one move and they go, close enough, and they get out and they're kind of splayed across two other parking spaces. So, they're...
Especially the rear wheel.
Oh, yeah. Rear left on the left-hand space, right front on the right-hand parking space, and then their car is just spread across the middle of the space. How on earth someone gets out of that car and goes, yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Drives me up the freaking wall. My 4 Series is obviously a fair bit wider than my ST, and I'm like, it just fits into the spaces at my local Sainsbury's. Just fits in.
Yeah.
And so when someone does park like a complete something, you just go like, well, I'm stuffed. I can't even just try and squeeze in there. I'm absolutely screwed.
Do you know the average, the actual, I mean, this might have changed very recently, but certainly as of the last 18 months, because I did research this, the minimum space for a car parking space in the UK hasn't changed for several decades.
Really?
And the only country I could find that I regularly visit for work and stuff that has a smaller size is Italy. They actually have even smaller is their kind of the size of space. Yeah. Then you go to America and it's like twice the length, twice the width. You can see why they all drive F-150s and plus, because they can fit them not just on the roads, but in the parking spaces. But anything like you've said with your 4 Series, anything modern in an old-fashioned car park now just doesn't fit.
I was watching a video the other day of a BMW M2 comp.
Yeah.
And they were saying that it was 2 meters wide, over 2 meters wide, whereas an E46 M3 was 1900 or so. And you go, oh, it's 100 mil difference, and it's like, that's actually quite a lot when it comes to a parking space. It really is flipping tight. So I think if we by nose parking, you're just making life more difficult for yourself. The only time where a nose park is essential is in an angled parking space.
Then you just drive in.
And those really irritate me.
Oh, really? You don't like them? Do they not do it because they get more cars into the same area? I actually don't know the answer to that.
I don't know, because I think of it and I think, surely it would use up more room. It seems like it's designed for people who are terrified of driving. Because they go, oh, at least I can nose park. And it is a little easier to reverse out, but I have reverse parking so deeply ingrained in my person. Like, I know that nose parking at a supermarket would be easier because then I could get my shopping in the back, but I still reverse park in because it destroys my inner core to know that I would have parked nose first. So there we go. Next time you park your car, maybe you'll have this last 10 minutes worth of nonsense in your brain going, that time Cam and Sam were just rambling on about the times they've been parking and been in absolute dilemmas. Yes, and on that note, this episode of The Gassing Station comes to an end. Thank you ever so much for listening to our complete and utter nonsense. Sam, anything to add?
I'm excited for a January where I can catch up on my notes and get ahead with some reviews. But I do know that we've got some cool cars coming through, but I actually won't preview them. I'm just going to say there's some cool stuff coming through immediately. Like December, this month was supposed to be quiet, but I know it's going to get quite busy in a little bit. So I suspect in the next few episodes, we will be able to talk about some of the cars that we're excited about for 2026 pretty soon.
You've not even told me about those. I'm quite excited now.
I've just seen my email inbox and I was like, oh, I missed all of those because I was closed my laptop lid over Christmas.
Cool. I'm excited now. So all that's left for me to say is see you next Tuesday.